Toronto Centre councillor Chris Moise calling one of his constituents a white supremacist. Hi, I'm Brian Lilley, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. You may have seen this video online. You may have read the stories from Justin Holmes in the Toronto Sun, but I find it quite shocking that you've got a city councillor responding to a constituent with claims of you're a white supremacist. There's a bit more to the video. I'm going to show you a little bit here. It's Daniel Tate, who is active in Toronto political circles, trying to ask Moise about renaming and how much it's going to cost. Because, of course, Moise, of course, was the one who led the charge to rename Sankofa Square, which has not been cheap, or rename Yonge-Dundas Square to Sankofa. Here is the exchange between Tate and Moise.
What else is on your list to rename, and what are the costs associated with those renamings?
Mr. Tate, I know you and I have different opinions on many things.
I just asked you a question. What are you planning to rename in 25? And what is the cost of it?
Than I do. I know you have a white supremacy view. I don't support your views.
You're pulling out the wreath card, and he's asking about...
I know this guy. He's not a very...
Doesn't matter.
Did you just call me a white supremacist, Councillor Moise? That's an appalling thing to say to a constituent.
All right, joining me now to talk more about this is Daniel Tate. He's founded a group called Integrity TO, trying to hold politicians in the city accountable. And Daniel, what setting was that at where you encountered Moise? It looked like a committee meeting room down at City Hall.
So that was actually a budget town hall that Chris Moise and Asma Malik co-hosted for residents of their wards. So they just kind of combined the wards together and they hosted it together. And it was at City Hall last Thursday night.
Okay, so you've had a run-in with Moise before. You spoke against renaming Yonge-Dundas Square to Sankofa. You gave a very serious and balanced presentation on why you thought it shouldn't be renamed. Tell people what happened at the end of that.
Yeah, so this was last June. There was an executive committee discussion to sort of formalize all the administrative details and some bylaw changes that would be required to push through the renaming of Dundas Square. And me and a good friend of mine had been working on this petition. We had well over 30,000 names. We're already close to 35,000 names. And I basically just used my democratic right as a citizen to attend this executive committee meeting and do a 5-minute deputation, laying out all the various reasons why the renaming was wrong. Not just for financial reasons, but for cultural reasons. And I laid it out in what I thought was a pretty well done presentation. And then I was just going to pretty much leave. But things kind of took a turn left when Chris Moise, who's my local councillor, blurted out, "You're a racist," and then started to question me. And I was just thrown for a loop by that. I really couldn't believe that after this presentation, my councillor would insult me. So that sort of started it all.
My city councillor just called me a white supremacist, and that's an appalling thing to say.
I find you appalling.
And that is, again, a disgusting trend.
He claims that you harass him and his staff.
Yeah, that's a false claim and disingenuous. If showing up at your local councillor's office to talk and ask for an apology is considered harassment, then maybe Chris Moise needs to, go read a legal dictionary. Again, I'm participating in democracy as a tax-paying constituent, and if he can't handle a little bit of heat from one of his residents, then maybe he's in the wrong occupation.
Oh, you and I both know that the attempt to rename Dundas Street and Yonge-Dundas Square is based on faulty history, faulty scholarship that claims that Henry Dundas was a racist. Nobody was ever talking about that until this came up after George Floyd, and it was the middle of the pandemic and some shoddy work. We know that, but we also know that the city is looking at other renaming. So you were asking Moise what else is going to be renamed. Have you heard any confirmation, any rumors about more renamings coming?
Well, last year it was widely known with people inside City Hall and other circles that there was a list going around the back rooms of City Hall of several other major streets in Toronto that were candidates for renaming. The renaming of Dundas, although it's paused, it's on the back burner right now. That motion to actually cancel it was defeated, so it's still there. And so it was a reasonable question to ask Moise, what else, as I said in the video, what's on the hopper for renaming in 2025 and how much is it going to cost us? And he could have said nothing. He could have said this street or that street. He could have just given us the facts, but he resorted again to insults, and I couldn't believe it.
There are names. I've seen the list. You've got Yonge Street. There's two named for Joseph Brandt that are on the list. You've got Baby Point and anything named for the Baby family, even though in that case, they're on the list because of a slaveholding family. Apparently, that was a different branch of the family that lived in the United States and not the one that settled in Toronto, where the whole area is named for. This seems like a city bureaucracy with too much to do if this is what we're spending time and money on.
Yeah, too much to
Sorry,
do.
not too much to do, not enough to do.
Yeah, it's just a city that's just so ideologically bent on trying to eliminate like Toronto history and heritage along with our country. I mean, you saw last year this horrible story where they threw away in a ravine like a plaque of it was either Simcoe or maybe Columbus, and they found this old plaque in the backwoods. This
It
sort
was
of
Columbus. Yeah,
attempt.
that was another story that Justin did down at City Hall.
Yeah, so this attempt to dismantle our heritage and history and the people who built this city. Look, history is full of blood, sweat, and tears. We know this, but we should make sense of it and honor it as opposed to demolishing it and throwing it away. And plus, with Dundas, as you said earlier, like people didn't even know there was a person named Dundas until all this came to the forefront. People just knew Dundas was Dundas. Dundas was the place you went to buy your produce in Chinatown. Dundas is where Kensington Market is. Yonge and Dundas is where you celebrated the Blue Jays celebration. There was no problem.
You did get some documents on the cost for renaming Yonge-Dundas Square to Sankofa. What did they show?
Yeah, so I did a Freedom of Information request. The fiscal impact statement for everything pertaining to the renaming was $2.7 million. A lot of that comes from Section 37 funds, which developers pay for, for zoning and whatnot and development permits. But at the end of
Those
the
funds are supposed to go to things like parks, right?
Yeah, park benches, beautification, planting trees, things to make our city more beautiful and more livable. And at the end of the day, those are public resources. That's our money. And for that to be diverted to these like ideological pet projects, like renaming our central square, that's really what I wanted to ask Moise about last week is you've already demonstrated you've done it once. You didn't listen to residents once. What else is happening? What are you going to do in 2025? Because our property taxes are just going up and up and up. What are we paying for?
We're paying to
And that's when he called me a white supremacist.
Councillor Moise is showing that perhaps he is not fit for office, given the way that he's throwing around terms such as this. And he's my councillor as well. And hopefully after the next election, that won't be the case. Thanks for the time today.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Let me know what you think about Councillor Moise and his actions. You can drop a comment down below. Please make sure you share this on social media and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
I've been